Okay, I haven't had a chance, an opportunity to do one of these in a while because I haven't had in any watch models that have really, you know, really deserved it. But I picked up a couple new watches, and as a result, I'm able to actually say, because this is the first one of these I've ever owned. It's not the first monster I've ever owned, but I've never owned a second gen monster. Gentleman who's the original owner of these said he's trying to thin out his collection. He really only wears one watch, and he says he's not really actively collecting anymore, and he's spinning off the ones he doesn't really wear anymore. So I had an opportunity to pick one of these up. I'd never chased one down or been looking actively to pick one up. This one just fell into my lap. My memory of the other monster I owned, the impression I had at that point was, I thought that the dial was, pretty aggressive. The dial and handset was pretty aggressive. But the thing that really caught my attention about the watch was the quality of the casework. Seiko has always been about magnificent casework. And this watch is no different. Sharp case lines, clean brushing. I cleaned this watch. I swear to God, I don't know why it's so dusty, besides the fact that I've been wearing it. But it's an interesting and unusual design. And actually, there's, kind of like what I talk about with Seiko, with their unusual Seiko only designs, like the golden tuna, for example, something that no one had done before, that Seiko with their earlier tuna designs came out with. This actually has that same kind of thing. Also, kind of like a 6105, it has asymmetry. Something I hadn't really been thinking about until I looked closely at this watch, and I was like, my goodness, it's got its crown guard has this asymmetric case thing going on. So it's kind of like this 6105 asymmetry and this quasi-tuna casework, going up against this, this big, heavy knurled, sort of brutalist rotating ring, big gripping surfaces and all this other kind of stuff. Very, big and loud and aggressive, but meticulously done. Gorgeous brushing and everything else like that. No surface. This is just or no insert rather. This is just a single surface, all done at once. Seiko's case quality is just really beautiful. It's interesting that this pip has patinaed like that. I did some looking online and they did not come out like that. This watch hasn't had enough real wrist time to, I don't know why that would have happened. How does everybody else's pip look like? These are big. They're heavy. I should have gotten my kitchen scale, but this is a big, with its stainless steel bracelet, this is a big chunk of funk. It's 45 millimeters across. It's like 12 or 13 millimeters tall. Hardlex crystal. Thankfully, they didn't put any kind of a Cyclops on it or anything else like that. I mean, whatever you want to say about the overall design of the watch, you can't claim it's not legible. This thing is extremely legible, and I can read time at all times of the day or night at a glance. Because, like, there's some watches I have where the hands are actually kind of hard to see. Like my SAS Navigator 6117. It's not easy to read, especially at night, because the hands kind of vanish into the dial. This thing, no problem. It's amazing the condition and the quality that this watch is in. These came out, these came out in 4R36 probably 15 years ago. It's been a while, this second gen monster. They've got great utility, easy to use. Nice thing is with the 4R36 movement, they hand wind and they hack, which are both absolutely awesome. This one is in great shape. I'm amazed. It's unserviced. It's never been touched. I just said to heck with it, and I strapped it on to wear it. It is off by 6 seconds in the last week. I mean, it's keeping really, really nice time. Sort of a loose clicky, the way that the action on the bezel, easy to turn. This one was a little stiff until I took it apart to clean it. It just had dust in it, and that was about it, but I cleaned that out and that made it a little bit better. Classic Seiko caseback, dive caseback. What was cool about this is the gentleman had smaller wrists, and he hadn't kept the original bracelet links or the box or anything else like that. Is, you know, that happens with, you know, old school dudes. They don't keep that stuff. And so I got this, and it was actually too small. And like probably, geez, 12, 13 years ago, maybe more, I sent off to CoServe for some extra bracelet links. They would give you, if you called them up and you were like, and you needed collars, because these have the pin and collar system for the bracelets. Really silly system where it's easy to lose this collar. It's a tiny little metal, split metal tube the size of a grain of rice. They're really easy to lose. And so you would call up CoServe and say, hey, I need one of these things. And they would send you links. And I've had those links for like 13 years, brand new in the package, never had a chance to use them until now. So this is full length. I don't know, I'm impressed with it. I enjoy it. It's not, I'm so used to wearing classic, you know, old school 60s, 70s Seiko stuff, that wearing something like this sort of this 2000s, 2010s design has been a nice change. I really have been enjoying the sort of the strength and the sort of the machine-like angular quality of the case design. And I'm enjoying looking at it. It's a nice change. Anyway, oh, and of course it glows like a maniac. Even all these years later, the lume glows, and it glows at night. It's bright enough to actually shine through my eyelids at night when I'm in bed. I noticed. Very cool. Anyway, there's an informal look at the SRP307. Thank you very much for watching.